And hi, everybody. Welcome to Proline, direct from Las Vegas. I'm Dave Cokin, joined by Jim Feist. We're going to take a look ahead to, believe it or not, already Week 10 of the college football campaign. It's just sailing along. Plus, we'll get into the NFL Week 9 first, Jim. If people subscribe to the channel, it's free, and they get bonus stuff for free as well.
Absolutely right, Dave. Go to ProlineTV.com. Click on the subscribe button. You'll get notifications on new videos. Plus, you'll be sent a code to get 7 days of my service absolutely free. That's ProlineTV.com.
All right, this is the part where I get to do a little bit of bragging. I don't throw numbers out unless they actually exist. And last week was just a dream week in college football. 8-0 for the week. It started with kind of a lucky win on Pittsburgh, plus the points against Virginia Tech. And from there were really only a couple games that were even close on Saturday. 7-0 on Saturday, 8-0 for the week. 5 of the plays on Saturday were dogs. And all but one of those won outright. Actually, 6 of the plays were dogs, and 5 of them won outright, which tells you how strong it was. That included Kent State. They were more than a 2-touchdown dog, came back and beat Central Michigan outright. Had a big play on big plays all over the place, including Tulsa, which was a game of the month selection, and they just slaughtered Memphis. And SMU. Now, last week I told you about an exclusive game. This is the second straight week I did this. Utah State 2 weeks ago. SMU last week. These are games that are not available any place other than by calling my office. You have to call the office and be a personal service customer to get these games. We're going to do it again this week. This is one top-level game. It's as strong as anything you'll see this weekend. And the only way to get it is to call 855-472-2577. I'm not going to make it cheap either. It's $49 to get the game. So I know that's a lot of money for some people for one game. I think it's well worth it. Also, by the way, the NBA is off and running. And I don't have a lot of plays, but you want to check out my NBA season package. I'm definitely a spot player. So ask about that when you call. But the main thing is to get this game for $49. And the only way to do so is to call 1-855. Forget the one. It's just 855-472-2577. I'm still stuck on the old one thing.
I do it all the time.
Jim, you went 2-1 for the second straight week with the College High Rollers on Saturday. Auburn and Utah. Great call on Utah.
Thank you.
That was a tremendous game, by the way. Tremendous game with Washington. 16-7 NFL High Roller run with the Cowboys, plus the Redskins-Bengals over. And the NFL blowout game of the year. And this is one time the public was right and the Cappers were right. The Patriots just slaughtered the Bills. 2 monster totals this weekend.
Absolutely, Dave. It was a great week. And you talk about the Patriots.
Terrible game for the books.
Yeah, of course it was. But they have to price the team right. I mean, they're 6 points better than any team in the NFL right now, unless Roethlisberger comes back and he's healthy. I've got 6 days of plays for $66. That includes my college total of the year going Saturday, and my NFL total of the year goes on Sunday. It's $250 each online. You'll get both this and this special, and you get 6 days for $66. Just call no one here, just 866-546-9467. That's 866-546-9467. Congratulations to you on the 8-0.
That was fun.
But what people need to understand out there about betting on sports or gambling on anything, a lot of times you're just going to, bounce back and forth, split, win a little, lose a little. But if you stick with a handicapper that's good, you're not going to win 8-0 every week. You're not going to go 6-2 every week, but you're going to go 4-3, 3-4, back and forth. What you're doing is you're setting yourself up for those big weeks like Dave just had. And when you get in stroke like Dave was last week, it tends to continue for a while because you got the vision of those teams and what's going on. So stay with us. We will make you money.
That's called a heater, and they're a lot of fun. Okay, so we have a new feature now, and this is courtesy of our social media guru. We're kind of up there, and we need help on this stuff, but it's a good thing.
Are you trying to say we're old?
No. Advanced.
Advanced.
Proline poll question of the week, and this will be a lot of fun. We'll get a lot of feedback on this stuff. Last year the Chiefs started 1-5, and they made the playoffs. That doesn't happen every year. obviously there's a team that's hoping it happens this year, the defending NFC champion Carolina Panthers. So we asked the question, which team with a current losing record this season will make the playoffs? And the choices were the Bengals, who are currently 3-4-1, the Colts 3-5, the Chargers 3-5, or the Cardinals 3-4-1. And
32% of the vote came in on the Cardinals that they're going to make the playoffs, and I disagree.
I disagree as well. I'll be honest, I don't think any of those 4 teams are going to make the playoffs.
Let me see. We got the Bengals have a chance because Roethlisberger could let the door open.
And they've got a couple of weak teams
and they
in the division.
did get Eifert back. So that makes a big difference for them.
Yep.
And even though they went over to England and tied.
Thanks to their kicker.
Well, yeah, but that happened down in Seattle and Arizona as well. So why don't I think the Cardinals are going to make the playoffs? Here's the problem. They got to go to Seattle and play Seattle in Seattle. That's a tough place to play, even though Seattle's not who they were and have been in the past. Injured, Wilson isn't as mobile as he has been, but still, Seattle will be a substantial favorite in that game. Of course, you have the Rams and you got the 49ers in that division. So I'm just looking at division games. I don't think they'll have that much trouble with the Rams and the 49ers, although occasionally the Rams will, get you. But so if they lose the game to Seattle, be 0-1 against Seattle. That's not a good thing. Now, as far as wild card situations, Minnesota's fallen off the cliff, and now the announcement is that Norv Turner has resigned his position as offensive coordinator. That's a big loss. Zimmer has big problems there. He's got an immobile quarterback with a terrible offensive line and no running game. Hello. I said in the beginning when they got Bradford, it was a huge mistake. And it has turned out to be a huge, not that he's terrible, but you need a lot of support around him.
Well, he doesn't win games for you. He's got to be a game manager, in my opinion.
He's got some more talent than that, in my opinion, but you can't do it with offensive line. He's getting sacked, hit all the time, and their running game is absolutely terrible. So I don't think they're going anywhere. I don't know if Detroit can bounce back and have some kind of and the reason I'm talking about all these other teams is because it all mixes in. There's only 2 wild card teams in a conference. So you got the 4 division champions, which right now I give Green Bay the shot there because Minnesota's fallen off so bad. So Green Bay will probably come back and win that division. You go to the East, you got 4 teams there. Now this is where the problem comes in. And I'm eliminating the South because I don't think anything's going to happen down there. Atlanta might get it. Saints might get it. Tampa won't, I don't believe. I think since they lost Miller, the running game is absolutely terrible. Panthers could bounce back. They've got the talent. I don't know that they have the coaching. And Mr. Weiner, who is their quarterback, he thinks he's the only one getting bad hits all year. It's a lot of other guys as well.
Can I say something about Cam Newton? Here's an idea. Stop being a hot dog.
Yeah, people won't want to hit you so much.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Right, he is a hot dog.
He doesn't understand that he's bringing this on himself with the Superman stuff, whereas, and then after the game he turns back into Clark Kent. And if you want to be a hot dog and splash mustard all over yourself and they go out there and beat the crap out of you to get a chance, that's your problem, okay? Yeah, he absolutely is taking some cheap shots. Well, he's the same. It's the same thing. And I've been involved in baseball my whole life, so I usually use baseball analogies. The guy who does the bat flips and stuff like that, he's going to get one in his ear the next time up.
A couple of years ago, a guy got punched for that. Remember, what was that?
This year, but Jose Bautista.
Right.
Still a payback from last year.
Right.
And that was a hot dog situation where it almost was warranted because it was such a big play. Cam's got to put on the show every stinking time he gets into the end zone with this and how about being a pro? Okay, leave that to the other skill position. You're the quarterback. Look at the other guys in the league, the superstars, the great quarterbacks. They'll get excited and they'll participate with their teammates in a celebration. Brady certainly does, but Tom Brady never makes it all about himself ever.
And when you rub it into the other team's defense, the other team's
they're gonna
coaches,
have long memories.
They want to come back and they want to nail you. And if you go back to his college, and this isn't all about Cam Newton here, but you go back to his college days, nobody's going to argue with his talent.
No.
The guy's a physical
specimen.
He's got great talent, but he's very immature. and it's all about him. He's typical American narcissist, and so he needs to grow up. Somebody needs to sit him down and tell him to grow up, or he's going to get his head taken off.
Exactly.
It's just the way it is. But getting back to this, we talk about, and since you participated
they're still the team, and they weren't on the list. We had
They'll
Bengals, Colts,
probably
Chargers,
make
and Cardinals. I think the Panthers are still the team that is most capable of getting hot and going on a run.
When you look at Atlanta, the Saints, and the Bucks, that's the division. So who's going to win that division? Right now, people are going to say it's Atlanta because they have the best record and their number one offense. But their defense isn't that great. It could be Atlanta. If Atlanta wins the division, then it's possible none of the other teams in that division make the playoffs. Because remember, there's only 2. Now let's go to the NFC East. Now, this gets a bit long explanation, but you wanted one, here it is. You got 4 teams in the NFC East, all with a winning record.
Yeah.
So that means
best division in the league.
And nobody expected this. Washington won it last year. They're playing decent. They just came off a tie. So the Giants, now they host Philadelphia this week.
Huge
Tough game, big game, important game. Dallas comes off the win against the Eagles on Monday night. Now they go up to play Cleveland, which
And they stole the win, and that's what good teams do. So I'm starting to drink the Kool-Aid on Dallas.
Let's talk about stealing the win. When you double in yardage and time of possession and all the things they did in that game, you didn't steal the win.
But I'm saying,
what you did is you stole from yourself an easy win. They got lucky at the end.
but
granted.
Peterson botched the game.
Oh,
for the Eagles.
totally. Up 7-0.
Yep.
7 with a field goal potential. He's totally screwed it up with that swing pass garbage. And they should have got it to 10, and they probably would have walked out of there with a win they didn't really 100% deserve, but it came back. Dak played a terrible game.
That was his worst game.
Worst game. But Philadelphia has been the last 3 games, they really haven't looked that good. And they lose it. The Detroit game wasn't all that great. But they're going to the Giants this week. That's a tough spot, especially coming off a bye for the Giants. But you could easily have 2 wild card teams coming out of the East. So if you get 2 coming out of the East, and none of the rest of the divisions look that competitive, Carolina all of a sudden is sitting back in the pack because they haven't got a winning record. They're 3-4-1 so far. I'm not very optimistic that the Cardinals make it this year.
All right. We want to thank everybody who's participated in this very first poll that we did. And we'll mention that the Proline poll question of the week will post every Monday morning on our respective social media networks. And the results will be announced right here on the show. So share the poll with your friends because, after all, every vote counts, and there's no electoral college here. This is a strictly popular vote. So make sure and get involved.
And if you'd like to send us a suggestion for a Proline poll question of the week, or if you have any questions in general, send me a direct message on Twitter, Facebook, or Instagram, or YouTube, and I'll get right back to you.
All right. And don't forget, by the way, you want to make sure and go to jimfeist.com for free stats, articles, videos, Jim's exclusive Fast Facts, which are definitely a winner with the basketball season coming up. College is about to start. And plays from the nation's top handicappers as well. We're going to come back and we're going to get to the games. And we're going to look at the biggest game on the college football schedule so far this year, actually, Alabama and LSU. All right, here we go with a look at, this is a huge game this weekend, and it's gotten a lot bigger because of the coaching change that took place at LSU. LSU is kind of floundering around. But since Ed Orgeron's taken over, LSU's won 3 in a row. They've put up a bunch of points in the process. And now they're home dogs against Alabama this weekend. This is going to be an exciting matchup.
There's no question who's the favorite in the game. I mean, Alabama's the favorite in every game. But there are situations, I mean, you got a full 7-point favorite. And there's actually one book, a major book, that's got Alabama 8.5. Now, that's a big difference. You got 7, 7.5, and 8.5. So I guess they're taking an opinion position on this game for one reason or another. But when Ed Orgeron took over 3 games ago, he's changed the offense. The whole attitude is different. LSU has always been tough to beat at home. Granted, Alabama's been able to do it a number of times. But this is a different situation where the team has a lot of momentum, a lot of confidence in the new coach, a lot of confidence in their new style of play. They're putting up a lot of points. Interesting that the total opens 50 in this game, immediately gets bet down to 44.5. Both Dave and I think that might be time to go against it and bet the over.
Yeah,
it looks like a lot of points.
I'm not sure if 50. I don't think I'd consider it over 50. But now that it's a lot less than that, I mean, you look at LSU since Ensminger took over as the offensive coordinator from Cam Cameron. Look at the points here, and this is under Orgeron. 42, 45, and 38. Now, they're not going to get that many points against Alabama because Alabama's just an absolutely fantastic football team, and they've got a great defense. But Leonard Fournette is going to get his yards against anybody. He's completely healthy again. The other kid can spell him when he needs a break. Etling, yeah, look, he's not a great quarterback. He's a Purdue transfer, and that kind of tells you something right there. But he's doing a decent job managing the game. However, I could see him getting picked once or twice in this game, and that could result in a score for Alabama, particularly if it's a short field. Alabama is tremendous offensively. You look at the team and you look at the defensive numbers, and they're incredible, but it's not like this team can't put points to the board. So to me, 44, particularly given the style of play that we're seeing now out of LSU, I think there's a good chance this game goes over the total.
I didn't understand the movement, but the market is pretty widespread these days, and it's worldwide. So you really don't know when you get a movement like this in the game if it's actually sharp money. I'm guessing that it's not, unless somebody's taking a position saying, let's drive it down and then bet it up over a bigger number. So the hypothetical, how does that work? You bet $100,000 and you spread it out. It might not be the right number, but you spread it out across the board and you move it down, and then you come in later in the week when the line has been knocked around at the 44, 45 level, and you come in with a couple million over the number. That's how some of the markets can get manipulated. It happens on the stock market as well. So you have to be careful of that.
I'm really interested as to why that one sharp book, which is not located in Las Vegas, it's an out-of-the-country location, why they're higher by a point than everybody else. That is really interesting to me. Now, you can't, if you like LSU in the game, I'm not telling you that you should just look at that and say, well, I can't bet them because such and such a book is a very sharp store and they've got the line higher than everybody else. I mean, look, that happens sometimes. It doesn't always win. You want an example, you look at last week's game between Texas Tech and TCU, and the sharps were all over TCU in that game, but Texas Tech ended up getting the job done. So, you know, if you have a take on a game, you go with your take. I think there's going to be a lot of strong handicappers, and I don't think I'm going to get involved in this game. If I were, as far as a side's concerned, if I were to take a side, the hell with what the number is there, I would take LSU. I think as a home dog, this place is going to be nuts. Absolutely nuts. And I'll tell you, LSU's got no fear of anybody right now. And Alabama's, they've been winning the games in this series, but the last couple of games in Baton Rouge were tough. And I just think the gap between these two teams, since Orgeron took over from Les Miles and his, tight-collared ways, they're a completely different football team.
Right now, this whole campus is up.
Oh.
They're really up. They're excited. The players are up, excited. It's always been a tough place to play. It's 5 p.m. Vegas time. It's a night game. It's always crazy there. Bama's been there before, and they've been able to handle it, but this is a different club.
But the games went to the wire.
Oh, yeah. There have been a number of them that have. This is a definite. It's 73% of the bets are on Alabama. There hasn't been a line move up that much. It opened 7.5. There's some 7s. There's 7.5s, and there's that one very big book at 8.5. That's an opinion line. For some reason, they're taking a position on that game. Doesn't mean they're right. And when you talk about sharp money, like I said before, it's a worldwide market now. We don't know what sharp money is anymore because a lot of the money comes from around the world, and it's not necessarily sharp. It's just big.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm looking forward to it.
I can't wait. It's going to be exciting.
Fun game to watch.
Viewers can get free plays from us right to their cell phone. It's extremely easy, Jim.
That's right. Just text the word GAME, G-A-M-E, to 25827, and you'll get a free play right now to your cell phone. That's GAME, G-A-M-E, to 25827.
All right, we're going to talk about 2 NFL games when we come back. We've got the Colts and Packers, and we've got the Broncos Raiders showdown. Suddenly a very big game in the AFC West, so stay tuned. All right, so here we go with some NFL talk. We're going to look at a couple of key games this weekend. The Colts taking on the Packers, and then the big showdown in the AFC West between the Broncos and Raiders. We'll begin with the Colts and the Packers. Both teams are off losses, but they were completely different types of losses. Indianapolis had a golden opportunity last week, I thought, against Kansas City, and I did bet the game, and I lost it. There was nothing fluky about this loss. They were clearly the second best team on the field in that game. The offensive line play was horrible again. Alex Smith got knocked out twice in the football game. He got knocked out once. He came back, got knocked out again and stayed out. Nick Foles came in off the bench and played well, but I'm not sure that was as much due to the Colts being incompetent as it was Foles playing well. It's tough to back this Colts team right now. I know Andrew Luck is terrific and he's healthy again, but they can't run the football and they don't protect Luck, and that's just a bad combination. And the Colts aren't going to win anything with their defense anyway.
They haven't done a good job, Dave, in my opinion, in the offseason building that offensive line to protect Luck. I mean, the kid came off of major injuries last year. They didn't do a lot. I'm not a real big fan of the ownership of this team or the head coach of this team, and I think it's showing on the field. They just haven't built a solid franchise there around Luck. As far as Green Bay is concerned, Aaron Rodgers is still a great player, but the rest of this team as well is faulting. Their running game is marginal. Their offensive line better than the Colts for sure. Home field advantage. The game against Atlanta was very interesting, up and down. Atlanta's pretty solid team on offense, a little sketchy on defense, but like you said, Dave, there's a big difference. They both lost, but the Green Bay on the road against Atlanta wasn't that bad,
especially with all the injuries.
Right, exactly.
No Matthews, no Randall Cobb. They had Allison, Davis, and Janis all caught touchdown passes. I mean, I'm not knocking those guys, but that was the first touchdown reception for all three of those guys. So they were playing with, they're not shock troops. It's not like they were down to the 70th guy in the roster, because obviously there aren't any 70th guys in the roster. But it was still, I was impressed by the way Green Bay hung in there, and I thought, they kind of got unlucky to not win the football game in some respects. It's also their fifth home game in 6 weeks, which is some real nice scheduling. Green Bay had 4 straight home games prior to the trip to Atlanta. I think they come back to Green Bay feeling confident, and I'm not sure you can say the same about the Colts, and also think the Colts have a lame duck coach. I think Chuck Pagano is going to be gone at the end of the season, and I don't like backing teams with what I think are lame duck coaches.
They should have a lame duck owner too, because I just don't think he's done a great job as an owner there for a while. Green Bay at home is starting to get a little colder around the country. This is a great spot. You got an indoor team going outdoors. I think it's a great spot for the Packers to bounce back, and that's the way I'm looking at this game. I think Green Bay Packers, Aaron Rodgers, who always says relax. Okay, we relaxed. We saw you last week. You played a good game. You didn't win, but you played well.
The radio show I do, which is the Las Vegas Sports Line, is on ESPN Las Vegas every day, weekdays from 2 to 3. Jim is with us on Thursdays quite frequently. One of the things I said before the season was I like this Oakland Raiders team, but that schedule is going to kill them, because they had 5 East Coast trips in the first 8 weeks of the season. I said, well, that's just too much to overcome. It's almost as if they're trying to get the Raiders beat. The Raiders won all those games, so I could not have gotten something more wrong. What I thought was going to be their undoing turned out to be their strength. Their problem has been at home so far, where they have not played well. This is the game of the week to me in the NFL as far as
it is.
fan viewing goes. I mean, I can't wait for this game. It's going to be exciting. 6-2 Broncos, 6-2 Raiders, and Derek Carr has arrived. I mean, we know quarterbacks sometimes take a couple years to develop, and
this guy's good.
This guy's good.
Well, you probably don't know about this, but Oakland has just asked Roger Goodell to move all their games to the East Coast.
No, just move half of them to Las Vegas, which they'll be doing in a couple of years.
You think?
Jerry Jones says so.
Okay, well, I'm for that. I think it'd be great for the city. Not so great for Oakland, of course, but if they don't come, maybe Jacksonville will come, because they have no home crowd anyway. So, but as far as this game is concerned, you have Derek Carr, who's playing absolutely great. Yes, they have not played very well at home. They had 23. They set a record. 23 penalties against them last week at Tampa.
Unbelievable. And those are the accepted.
Janikowski missed 2 field goals.
Those were the accepted penalties.
Yeah.
Because there were a few others as well that got declined. It's amazing.
I mean, they've always been a highly penalized team anyway because they play that kind of brand of ball. This is a tough spot. I mean, Denver comes in as a 2.5-point favorite. Total is 44.5. Total's been bet down a little bit, and the game has gone to pick 'em. So you might end up seeing either side of this game won by the end. But this is a big game. This is one of those division games. This is Oakland's chance to take a lead in this division and potentially win the division at the end, putting Denver in a wild card situation. Either one of these teams is going to fight for either the division or the wild card. Monster game, very important. There is one other game that has this kind of importance, and it's up on the card a little bit. It's Philadelphia at the Giants. Same kind of scenario, but we're only talking about this at this point. So this is going to be a monster game.
Well, and if Oakland wins this game and goes into first place, Oakland suddenly becomes a serious contender.
Yeah, they do.
This is a
but without a good defense.
Yeah, but it's okay. It's not horrible. I mean, we're not talking about Atlanta or Saints level defense. The tough part is getting over that hurdle against the Denver Broncos team that is so well prepared. Now, here's an interesting thing about this game. Do you put Wade Phillips, is he at practice this week? I mean,
well, I think
this is an interesting thing because Wade Phillips, of course, got run over in last week's game. Thank goodness he's okay because that was really scary. But as we're taping this, I still haven't really gotten into how much of involvement he's going to have in this particular game. And I hate to plead ignorance, but I don't have that information right now, and I'm not going to pretend that I do. It's only Wednesday. I got plenty of time.
Yeah, this is a little too early, but maybe
that to me is a factor in this game.
Oh, it definitely is. I mean, you get backup coaches. There aren't that many great offensive or defensive coaches around the league. And we lost one today. I don't know if you even know that out there. Minnesota's offensive coordinator, who's been around a long time and has a great reputation as an offensive coordinator, not so much as a head coach, but North Turner for Minnesota resigned. So that's a big problem for Zimmer, the head coach there, and that whole team that's not doing very well right now. But as far as this is concerned, I expect him to be back. I got the clearance on him that he was okay. He's a tough guy. He's been around for a long time.
Oh, boy.
He's not going to give it up. I think he'll be in Oakland on Sunday.
It's going to be exciting. Yep. I don't have a play on this game right now, but it's certainly the game of the week in the NFL. I will say this. If I get involved in this game, my most likely take will be on the under because I still think the best unit on the field, if you take the Oakland offense, the Oakland defense, the Denver offense, the Denver defense, I think the Denver defense is still the best unit on the field. And I have a tendency to look at, in big game situations like this,
defense.
As hot as Derek Carr is, I think I look defense first, and so I'm leaning toward the under.
I would agree with that. And when you look at the fact that the odds makers made Denver a 2.5-point favorite coming in, where the home field usually gets around 2 to 3 points advantage, that's kind of average. That's saying the odds makers are saying Denver is the better team by quite a significant number. So if this game would have been on a neutral field, they might have been a 5.5-point favorite. That tells me that the guys that do this for a living on the odds maker side, they believe Denver is the better team. And the fact that Oakland has not played well at home,
weird.
That kind of leans me towards Denver. But we're going to look at this. We're going to look at the Wade Phillips issue. We're going to look at the practice sessions. We're going to look at the long-term and short-term injuries on both these clubs before we make a decision.
All right. Now, if you want to get free plays every day on a recorded message from our team of Vegas experts, the number to call is 888-478-9222. That's 888-478-9222. And those plays are all on tape. We're going to come back one more segment on this week's Proline. We're going to look at the early season NBA and give you some pointers there. the NBA is underway, and betting volume has gone up in the NBA. As opposed to recent years, I think there's several reasons for this. Good visibility for the league, but maybe more than anything, the mobile apps are now all over Las Vegas, and they've gotten extremely popular. It means you don't have to drive to a sports book every day to make your bets. You can make it from any place in the state, and one of the results of that is increased NBA betting volume. So let's talk a little bit of NBA. Normally, the NBA used to be kind of till January before anybody would get involved in it, at least in terms of the masses. It was just sharp guys playing early, but that's not the case anymore. One of the things we're seeing already, if you go back to when LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Bosh all started together in Miami, they struggled for the first half of that season. I mean, it took a while to get the chemistry together, and they were actually a pretty bad spread team, if memory recalls. We might be seeing the same thing with the Warriors. I mean, the talent level is undeniable on this basketball team, but they haven't really meshed. Now, they did play very well in the second half on Tuesday night against Portland. That was probably the best half of basketball they played so far this year.
It was, yeah.
But I still think you're going to have some value in playing against Golden State in individual games with these gigantic spreads for at least a couple of months. It might take 40 games for them to really mesh.
100% agree. A couple reasons why I think this could happen is last year, Golden State wore themselves out trying to get the record.
Yep.
Stupid mistake, because they're not the champion. The champion is Cleveland, and they blew a big lead against Cleveland last year, but they were worn out. That was just not smart, and they're not going to do that again. They realize that it's championships and not those in-season records that people remember long term, and they want the championship this year. So I have a bet under their team league wins, season wins in the regular season, because I really feel that the head coach, assistant coaches are going to try to monitor minutes, keep this team healthy, and keep them less fatigued than they were a year ago, and that's where this team will get good. So what Dave said was, let's start betting against them early because they're not going to be meshed. And not only that, it's hard to put all those stars together. There's only one basketball. But they're not going to be trying as hard as they did a year ago to push these guys to win these games by big margins, or even to win these games in situations where they might be fatigued. 4 games in 5 nights, et cetera, back to back. You play at one city and get on a plane, play the next city. It's not easy to do. The season's long. It's probably too long, in my opinion. But that's what I'm doing with this team. I lost with them last night with Portland. I went against Portland. I had a good night. I was 2-1. That was the only loser I had. But I'm going to be doing that on occasion throughout, and I'm not going to do it all the way. But at the end of the season, look out. This team will be there.
Oh, yeah. They're going to be dangerous. Yeah. You know who else looks good? The Bulls. I think Dwayne Wade he's making 3-pointers, which is not Dwayne Wade's game.
He's back home.
Yeah, I mean, it's as if Wade wants to. He's getting this was always a dream of his, to play for the Chicago Bulls. And I was reading something, I guess it was in Sports Illustrated, where Wade was talking about the fact that had it not been for LeBron James and Chris Bosh coming to Miami, he probably would have left for Chicago years ago. It's his home city. This is his dream come true, to play for the Bulls, team he grew up rooting for. He was a huge Michael Jordan fan. He looks motivated, and you know what? That team looks motivated. They've got a lot more life in them this year. And I'm going to say one other thing. I think it's got a lot to do with somebody who's not there anymore, and that's Derrick Rose.
And the head coach.
Yeah.
Okay, they made changes, and I think there was a cancer with the Bulls, and I think it was Derrick Rose. They depended on this guy. In my opinion, he was a prima donna. And
it wasn't just that. You know, what else it was that it was always Derrick Rose's team. And when it's not your team anymore, I think you can become a distraction. And it became Jimmy Butler's team last year. Butler was clearly the best player on the team.
Yeah, but I look back 3-4 years with Rose. I thought he was a problem for a while. And then, of course, the coach with the overplaying and pushing the team too hard in practice and tiring them out. I mean, these guys play over 80 games just in the regular season. And half the teams in the league make the playoffs. So it's crazy to push these guys too much. He did. And it didn't work out very well for them. I think Chicago is a very tough team. adding Dwayne Wade, and he still has it.
Oh, yeah.
If he can get through the season and still have it at the end, tough team.
All right, so I want to recap for you. There's 2 ways to get free plays every day. One is via text message. Just text GAME to 25827. You'll get a free play right now. In fact, to your cell phone. It's that easy. Text GAME to 25827. Or call 888-478-9222, and you'll get a free play on a recorded message. That's a great way to go to get free plays, and that's going to do it for this edition of Proline. We'll see you next week, once again, with another edition of Proline.